Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, April 20th, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. It's been released for publications that the Shin Bet and Israel police have uncovered a Jewish terror ring suspected of attacking Palestinians in Samaria over the past year, including firebombing buildings populated with people. Six suspects were detained, including an IDF soldier and 2 minors. Most of them are from the settlement of Nachliel. 3 of the suspects are brothers, and their father is reportedly the rabbi of the settlement, which is located northwest of Ramallah. The cell members include Michael Kaplan, Itamar Ben Aharon, and Pinchas Shendorfi. The names of the soldier and minors were barred from publication. They are suspected of firebombing a house in the village of Mazra el-Kalbilia last November. The group allegedly spray-painted the words "revenge" and "death to Arabs" on the walls outside the house. They are also suspected of tossing gas grenades at a house in Bit Ilu, beating an Arab farmer with sticks, stoning Palestinian automobiles, and a number of car arsons. They are slated to be charged in the coming days. 2 soldiers were lightly injured from a bomb that exploded near troops operating in the Kalandia camp north of Jerusalem last night. Soldiers were taking part in a house demolition of terrorist Hassan Mohammed Abu Ghosh, who carried out the deadly January stabbing attack in Beit Horon, in which Shlomit Kriegman was murdered and another woman injured. Stones, rocks, and firebombs were thrown at the soldiers, border police, and civil administration officials as they prepared to destroy Abu Ghosh's home. Soldiers fired warning shots, rubber bullets, and tear gas to disperse the Arab rioters. The Palestinian Red Crescent ambulance service reported 8 Palestinians were injured. The Army announced that a security barrier designed to protect Jewish residents living in close proximity to the Gaza Strip against underground infiltration and overground infiltrations will be completed within 2 years. The new enhanced fence will be equipped with a state-of-the-art technological detection system, in addition to providing a physical barrier against any attempts to encroach on Israeli territory. The cost of the barrier is estimated to be around 3 billion shekels. The Army said the barrier will be constructed in areas most vulnerable to attacks, but refrain from naming any particular towns, villages, or Army bases. Meanwhile, the Army yesterday completed the destruction of the 2-kilometer-long attack tunnel recently discovered by troops that penetrated several hundred meters inside Israel, close to Kerem Shalom. Minister of Tourism Yariv Levin dismissed talk of Israel becoming more and more isolated in the world, saying its security image has proven to be an asset to tourists visiting the Jewish state because it makes them feel safe. In an interview with IBA's Margot Dudkevich, the minister spoke of the numerous projects underway aimed at attracting more tourists to the country and making vacationing in the Jewish state more affordable for Israelis.
The minister has initiated a new program he believes will have a drastic impact on the country's tourism industry. Every airline that opens a new flight route to Israel will be awarded the sum of 100,000 euros, and if the number of flights increase, the airlines will receive up to 300,000 euros a year.
Airlines today are one of the major engines that make the tourism industry work. I think that up until now Israel worked only with travel agents who did a very good job, but I believe that in the current era that people are using the internet and are doing many reservations online, they are starting with choosing the flight. And they are starting with the websites of the airliners. And I do believe that if we have more direct flights to Israel, more airliners that will offer Israel in their sites, then we will be able to attract more tourists to come here. This move started only 2 days ago, so it's a bit early, but we already received some calls, especially from big low-cost airliners, who are very interested in that aspect, and I do believe that this initiative will succeed.
You're currently considering employing Jordanian workers in Dead Sea hotels or bringing more Jordanian workers. Is this because of the difficulties in recruiting Israeli workers?
It's not a secret that it is very hard to recruit Israeli workers to work in the hotels, especially in certain works that most Israelis don't want to do, unfortunately. We started with this initiative in Eilat. Up until now, almost 1,000 Jordanian workers are coming to the hotels in Eilat and going back to their homes in Jordan. It is beneficiary for both sides. For the Israeli hoteliers, it's something that solves the problem of recruiting manpower to work and operate in the hotels. And for the Jordanian workers, it's of course a very good alternative too, because the average salary here in Israel is much higher than in Jordan, so they can earn here something that they will be it will be very hard for them to earn if they'll continue working in hotels in Jordan. This initiative can be something that will work on the ground if we'll be able to reach an agreement with the Jordanians of opening a new border pass near the Dead Sea, and this is something that is discussed now, and hopefully if we'll get to some kind of agreement with the Jordanians, we'll be able to expand this initiative also to the Dead Sea and not only to Eilat.
Reducing prices for Israeli vacationers is one of Levine's top priorities. He says steps are being taken to make the local market more attractive to the Israeli pocket.
I see the initiative to make the expenses of going to vacations in Israel something reasonable. I see it as one of my major tasks here in the Ministry of Tourism. I'm doing many different things in order to make it happen. I think the most important thing is creating much more offer, much more possibilities, much more hotels. Unfortunately, in Israel, up until now, it took something like 10 years to build a hotel because of bureaucratic procedures. This is something we are changing completely now. We lack here almost completely what we call the low-grade hotels, which are more, of course, adjacent to people with lower budgets. And I think that once we'll create much broader offer of hotels in number of rooms on one side and in diversity of degrees on the other side, then with much more offer, then the prices will get lower.
You're a year in office almost. What would you describe as being your greatest achievement so far?
I believe that finishing the procedures in order to make the building of hotels something that will be possible to do in a short time and with governmental help and funding, I think this is the most important thing because it will reduce the prices for the tourists and also for the Israelis. I do believe that what we are doing now with the airlines is something that wasn't done in the past, and I think it will open us a lot of new markets that will enable us to raise the number of tourists that are coming here to Israel. And we are also working on changing completely the way we are working in the internet, in the online marketing. I think that all those measures of giving much more diversity of hotels with lower prices, working with the airliners, working with the travel agencies online, and of course continuing working with what we did up until now, especially with the travel agents that are doing a very good work in marketing Israel. All of that gives us a prospect of really increasing the number of tourists and not in a very long time.
Opposition leader Isaac Herzog set off a firestorm of criticism across the political spectrum when he said that in order to win over more of the Israeli public, the Zionist Union has to stop giving the impression that it was a party of Arab lovers. Speaking last night at a party gathering, Herzog said Israeli society is seeking a more rightist approach in order to convince voters that the Zionist Union not only has the experience but also the ability to improve Israel's situation without compromising the state's security. The party must stop giving the impression that we are Arab lovers. Herzog's remark prompted a series of condemnations, including from within his own party, with members calling the remarks derogatory and unbefitting for the leader of the opposition. Herzog today tried to clarify his remarks, stressing that he meant the Palestinian people and not the Israeli Arabs. He said one of his party's biggest problems is a false and mistaken notion that the Zionist Union considers the need of the Palestinians above those of Israel and its citizens. And this just in, a short while ago, Herzog was involved in a train accident next to Rishon Interchange. He was lightly injured and received treatment on the spot and did not require evacuation. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says his government rejects all forms of violence against Israeli and Palestinian civilians. Abbas made the comments during a visit to Berlin, one day after a Jerusalem bus bombing injured 21 people. The Palestinian leader, who is on a busy diplomatic work week abroad, met with German Chancellor Angela Merkel. The talks are part of his ongoing efforts to garner world support for the Palestinian cause and a condemnation against construction in Israeli settlements. At a joint press conference, Merkel also commented on the bus attack, saying there is no justification for violence. While admitting that the possibility of a resumption of peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians will not happen soon, she said an ongoing diplomatic initiative must be maintained with the hope of reigniting the peace process and bringing the sides closer to a two-state solution. Several thousand people took part last night in the solidarity rally in support of Elor al-Zaria, the soldier who shot a subdued terrorist in Hebron last month. The incident sparked widespread public discourse, and last night's event was also seen as controversial. Protesters waved support signs and Israeli flags. Many called for Azaria's release. Among the slogans chanted were, "Elor, the hero, terrorists shouldn't be neutralized, they should be killed, and kill or be killed." A small group also made racist jeers. Azaria's parents and his sister addressed the crowd, as well as journalist and former MK Sharon Gal, who helped organize the event. Earlier this week, the 20-year-old soldier was charged with manslaughter for killing a Palestinian terrorist who lay wounded on the ground after he and another terrorist tried to stab IDF soldiers in Tel Rumeida outside of Hebron. Just prior to the rally, Prime Minister Netanyahu tried to diffuse the tensions by stating that he had confidence in the military's justice system. Turning to the U.S. presidential race, and it was a night of triumph in New York for Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton and Republican leader Donald Trump. Here to analyze the results is IBA's political correspondent Caleb Ben-David.
Thanks, Aryeh. In the key New York presidential primary yesterday, Hillary Clinton scored a decisive victory over Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, winning the Democratic vote by 15%. Donald Trump garnered 60% of the Republican vote, more than doubling the gains of Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Ohio Governor John Kasich. For both Clinton and Trump, the results were a welcome turnabout from their recent primary losses and has provided them with a nearly insurmountable lead.
Today, you proved once again there's no place like home. You know, in this campaign, we've won in every region of the country. From the north to the south to the east to the west, but this one's personal. New Yorkers, you've always had my back. And I've always tried to have yours. Today, together, we did it again, and I am deeply, deeply grateful.
We don't have much of a race anymore, based on what I'm seeing on television. Senator Cruz is just about mathematically eliminated. And we've won another state. As you know, we have won millions of more votes than Senator Cruz, millions and millions of more votes than Governor Kasich. We've won, and now, especially after tonight, close to 300 delegates more than Senator Cruz. We're really rocking.
The big loser in New York was Sanders, who was hoping for an upset to keep his momentum going, and afterwards tried to put part of the blame on voting irregularities.
While I congratulate Secretary Clinton, I must say that I am really concerned about the conduct of the voting process in New York State. And I hope that that process will change in the future. And I'm not alone about my concerns. The comptroller of the city of New York talked today about voter irregularities and about chaos at the polling places.
Polls indicate that Sanders also decisively lost the New York Jewish vote to Clinton, and his defeat there will reassure American Jewish leaders who charge that the Vermont senator has excessively criticized Israeli policies during his campaign. Next up, 5 primaries on April 26, with the big prize being Pennsylvania. Aryeh?
Thanks a lot, Kalev. Police are investigating allegations of a massive diamond theft valued in excess of 200 million shekels at the Ramat Gan Diamond Exchange. The affair could reportedly lead to the bankruptcy of dozens of diamond companies. At the center of the probe is diamond dealer Hanan Abramovich. He is suspected of stealing diamonds without paying for them and selling them to others. A statement issued by the management of the Diamond Exchange said the police investigation was launched after a number of complaints were received from companies claiming Abramovich owed them money. Eli Avidar, managing director of the exchange, said management will adopt a zero-tolerance approach to those who attempt to hurt other members of the exchange. He added that management will fully cooperate with the law enforcement authorities. Hackers in the Middle East as well as Iran are becoming more sophisticated in their strikes against Israel, so warns a top expert from the renowned cybersecurity firm Kaspersky. He was visiting the country and spoke to Israel television. If you want to know what the next cyber threat is, Costin Rao is the man to ask. He's the director of global research of the international cybersecurity firm Kaspersky Lab. One of the world's foremost experts in cybercrime, they offer antivirus protection to some 200 million customers worldwide. Rao was in the country as part of a cyber conference and told Israel television what the hot targets are for the Middle East hackers.
We've seen thousands of targets being pretty wide. That, let's say, includes from targeting the Facebook page of the Prime Minister, for instance, with spear phishing links, to directed attacks against private companies in Israel, enterprises, private persons, and so on.
Kaspersky was key in uncovering the Stuxnet virus that sabotaged the Iranian nuclear efforts, as well as a Doko-2 virus that eavesdropped on Iranian nuclear talks in European capitals. The fingerprints of those viruses, including words in Hebrew, point to Israel. But today, Kaspersky refused to accuse anyone.
What we prefer is just to point out technical facts, and then we let people draw their own conclusions about these attacks. It's very easy to make mistakes. And I think the worst thing, and we've seen other companies doing this mistake, pointing the finger in the wrong direction. And that creates, in my opinion, it creates a lot of tensions and unnecessary problems.
Israel isn't alone. Other Middle Eastern countries have increased their cyber capabilities, and Iranian hackers are considered top-notch.
Not necessarily just more activity, but also becoming a bit more sophisticated. The kinds of attacks, the types of these attacks are moving from, let's say, the script kiddie style that we were seeing a couple of years ago to more sophisticated style attacks. So it's becoming, let's say, more agile and more dynamic and more aggressive.
Asked if hackers were a true existential threat on Israel, he said that Israel has a robust anti-cyber defense.
I believe that Israel is, let's say, one of the very solid countries, so with a very good situation from this point of view. Of course, that nobody can be 100% safe.
Turning to health news, and a revolutionary imaging scanner has been positioned at the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa. The machine can dramatically change the process of examination by exposing patients to less radiation in a shortened amount of time, as we hear in this report from IBA's Efrat Patat.
More than 10 years and over $100 million were invested in the development of this latest state-of-the-art nuclear imaging machine, which enables doctors to scan the entire body, detect diseases that were up until now much harder to see, and spare patients prolonged treatments. The new machine, developed in part by General Electric, went into operational use this week at the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa. It allows doctors to map tissues and bones and can identify diseases and developments, including cancer, heart and kidney complications, broken bones, and infections. Professor Zohar Kedar, Deputy Director of the Nuclear Medical Department at Rambam, says the technology marks a breakthrough in the field of imaging. According to Kedar, the new system significantly reduces the amount of time and radiation a patient is exposed to, creating much more precise and quick examinations. Doctors believe that the shortened examination time will allow more patients per day to be tested and in far greater comfort. The machine, which incorporates a variety of sophisticated imaging and X-ray technologies, was developed in part at the General Electric Global Research Center in the northern Tirata Carmel. It underwent several successful tests at Rambam and received approval from the U.S. FDA, as well as Israel's health ministry, which recently also gave it the necessary go-ahead.
So you can see moderately better spatial resolution.
The system has already drawn widespread international attention. Representatives from dozens of countries from around the world arrived in Haifa last week to get a first-hand look at the machine and examine its capabilities. Experts at Rambam promise a dramatic revolution in the examination process, stressing that the new hybrid imaging machine will not only save time and money, it will primarily save lives.
In business news, Intel, the company responsible for producing a processor that powers just about every modern PC, has announced plans to cut back 12,000 jobs from its international workforce, an amount which makes up 11% of all its employees. Intel said the job cuts included the consolidation of operations globally. Intel Israel has 10,000 employees, and it's not quite clear at this point how the layoffs will affect them. All you bike riders out there, be on alert. The Tel Aviv municipality announced that as of May 1st, police will begin enforcing the law banning bicycle riding on sidewalks, including fines of up to 1,000 shekels. Once the Passover holiday is over, restrictions will be taken up a notch against riders of bikes and electric bikes riding on sidewalks instead of on the marked bicycle paths. Strict punitive measures will also be taken against severe violations, including going through a red light, riding in the wrong direction, using cell phones while pedaling, and disturbing pedestrians in crosswalks. Aside from issuing fines, officers will also be able to deflate bike tires and confiscate batteries from children under 16 illegally riding electric bikes. In financial news, shares were down on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange while the shekel was mixed in foreign currency trading. Here are the late afternoon numbers. Turning to the weather, and the forecast is for partly cloudy skies with a drop in temperatures, but it will still be warmer than normal for this time of the year. Here are the expected highs and lows at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. That's our broadcast of IBA News for today. Please join us again tomorrow when Laura Cornfield will be here to bring you the latest breaking news from Israel. I'm Aryeh O'Sullivan, wishing you a good evening and shalom from Jerusalem.